I am currently a business major. I am in a sorority.
I'm taking Chem 14A. I'm taking Bio 7A.
I can't get a job because of how busy my schedule is.
Free time, at least, is not really a thing that exists anymore.
I typically wake up at like 6 in the morning because I never sleep.
I sometimes don't even sleep at all the entire week.
I've slept 4 hours in the past 2 days.
You're constantly trying to meet new people, and on top of that, managing your classes.
I will go home, sometimes get to go to the grocery store if I'm lucky.
I'm up to my knees in homework.
I probably spend around maybe 14, 15 hours.
30 to 40 hours.
35 hours in total per week doing homework.
Got a presentation to write, a paper to revise.
And just memorizing them and getting tested.
And then wake up at 6 and do it again.
Yeah, it's constantly a cycle of stress.
It's very difficult and stressful.
School is crazy. Life is crazy. Yeah, that's it.
Everything in my mental health history kind of boils down to me trying to figure out what I want to do career-wise, and there's so much pressure, especially in college, to try to figure out what you want to do. It's kind of hard to deal with being depressed. And I remember the day that I went to the hospital, to the ER, I went to my room and I was self-harming. I was cutting at that point. So I was going to my room to cut, and my mom just kind of stopped me. And she was just like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's just like, "You're not okay. We need to talk." And so we sat down and we had a family meeting, and sorry, it was the first time that I saw my parents cry. And I told them everything. I felt like everything that led up to that point was just basically the pressure of trying to figure out who you need to be or who you want to be when you grow up. It just got to a tipping point where I couldn't do it anymore.
A lot of times when people are feeling really depressed, they might isolate. So while all they need is really to talk to people, they're really pulling away. People's sleep cycles are really off, so they're not sleeping, or they're sleeping way too much. They can't get out of bed. People's food habits are off, so they might not be eating at all or eating too much. People oftentimes use substances in college, so that's overuse of alcohol or drugs. When someone's mood is impacting their functioning and there's real consequences, that's when in psychology you would consider that a real problem, a diagnosable problem.
Bree was a film production student with me. We started freshman year together. She was the first person I met at Chapman. I don't know, she was just the kindest person. She was making sure everybody was having fun and that everyone was happy, and just this incredibly bright person. I guess it was halfway through the first semester. She was having problems with anxiety. She was having panic attacks that were keeping her from going to class, and she was having some problems with a lot of self-doubt. She didn't think that she belonged here, and so she dropped out a month into second semester and went home. Then at a certain point, she turned her phone off, and 2 months later, she committed suicide in June. And yeah. Suicide happens when you are not in your right mind. She really needed to be treated, and she wasn't. It shouldn't have happened. she should still be here, as in she should be on Earth giving everything.
When you're young, you feel you're more impulsive, and suicide is it's a response to feeling overwhelmed by emotion and not being able to kind of see that those feelings can pass. And there just isn't enough education around what to do when you feel upset.
Mental health issues are definitely rising, or more people are coming in wanting to talk about, how they're feeling and what their emotional kind of concerns are.
It's been a really big problem for the past couple years that people in college have struggled with depression and anxiety and things that people aren't willing to talk about.
If a student wants to talk to a counselor, all they need to do is come in.
There are currently 99 people on the Chapman Health Center waitlist, and 1 in 90 people even get in.
What we do is we ask them to sit down at a computer, which is a database, and fill out some information about why they're coming in, what are their concerns.
They're questions that aren't actually able to diagnose you with any kind of mental illness.
I also think that the stigma of counseling, and getting into therapy is much less than it used to be.
Even if you do want to reach out, there's still a whole stigma about it. Like, I personally, even if I needed to reach out, I would reach out to my friends and family before I go to see a psychologist or see someone.
A lot of people feel embarrassed or even ashamed to seek that kind of help.
Getting help is stigmatized. No one wants to think about going to a psychiatrist or a shrink and talking about their problems, but in reality, that's really beneficial.
People who need help aren't willing to actually admit that they need help.
There's a limit. There's a limit to what, we're going to be given, and so we have to make the best of it and do the best we can. Absolutely, I think we do a great job, but we haven't been able to see everyone this year. It's been very difficult to not be able to get them in quickly.
I did try to reach out to the counselors in both high school and college, but I didn't find it to be a lot of help, especially in college, because they are dealing with so many people.
A lot of schools don't offer free psychological services still. And I know there's a lot of stigma around receiving help from psychologists, psychiatrists, and I think schools need to do a better job in breaking down the stigma.
You can be surrounded by people that are there for you at the drop of a hat, ready to give you all their love, and you can still feel completely alone.
Mental illness is something that affects a ton of people. Hopefully it would be, better to come out about it and, just get help. Maybe even decrease the problem if people are more open about their problems.
We all go through it, and if you're going through it right now, promise you eventually things will get better. It may not seem like it now, not seem like it tomorrow, the next day, the next week, the next year probably, next few years, but trust me, it will one day.